You know, what if the biggest, most important spiritual moments of our lives don't come with thunder and lightning? What if they happen in these small, quiet acts of kindness we might not even notice? That's really the powerful question at the heart of Leo Tolstoy's classic short story, Where Love Is, God Is. So today, we're going to walk through this incredible story about a shoemaker's journey from total despair to a kind of enlightenment that changes everything.
But first, let me ask you something. Just imagine you were told that tomorrow, the single most important person in the world, the guest of your dreams, was coming to your house. What would you do? How would you feel? Just kind of hold on to that feeling, okay? Because it is the absolute key to unlocking this entire story. All right, so our story kicks off in this little basement workshop. It belongs to a shoemaker named Martin Avdeitch. And on the surface, his life seems pretty simple. But as we're about to find out, it's a life that's been completely hollowed out by just immense sorrow.
Martin's whole world is basically framed by this one basement window. And through it, he doesn't see people's faces. He just sees their feet as they walk by. He's so good at his job, though, that he can tell who's passing just by the look of their boots and shoes. It's a perfect little metaphor for his existence, isn't it? It's small, it's limited, and his focus is always on the ground, never looking up. But this quiet life he leads is built on a foundation of just unimaginable loss. I mean, Martin's world has been taken apart, piece by painful piece. He lost his wife, then he lost every single one of his children. And when his last son, Cappadocia, died, that wasn't just another loss. No, that was the final blow, the one that completely shattered his world and his faith in anything good. And his grief, well, it turned into a kind of poison. He completely stopped praying for help or guidance. Instead, he only prayed for one thing: death. He started to resent God, blaming him for all his suffering. We are meeting a man who has absolutely no hope left. And it's right here, at his absolute lowest point, that a visitor shows up. An old pilgrim, a man of God, just walks into Martin's life. And this one conversation is about to set him on a totally new path. So the pilgrim listens to Martin's whole sad story, and then he offers him this really profound choice. He explains that Martin has been living a life for himself, just for his own happiness. And when that happiness got taken away, what was left? Only despair. But the pilgrim says there's another way: to live for God, to shift your focus from what you've lost to the one who gives life in the first place. And in that shift, he promises, Martin will finally find some relief. And this isn't just some abstract idea. The pilgrim gives Martin a super simple, practical plan for healing his soul. He says, first, go buy a copy of the Gospels. Second, read it every single day. Third, through that reading, you'll learn how to live for God. And finally, you'll find the answers and the peace you're looking for. And you know what? It works. A truly remarkable change starts to happen. As Martin reads, his life just transforms. His sighs of despair slowly turn into prayers of gratitude. His days, which were once so dark and empty, they start to fill up with this quiet, steady joy. It's amazing. So, this newfound peace in Martin's heart really sets the stage for something extraordinary, a kind of mystical promise that is about to put his new faith to the ultimate test. One evening, he's reading the Gospels, and he comes across this story about a wealthy man who invites Jesus into his home, but then doesn't offer him any real welcome, no kindness at all. And the story just hits him. It strikes a chord. And Martin starts wondering out loud to himself, wow, if someone like that came to me, how would I treat him? Would I be that cold? And as he's drifting off to sleep with that very thought in his mind, he hears a voice. It sounds like it's coming from the corner of his room, and it whispers, Martin, Martin, watch the street tomorrow, for I will come. He's not sure if it was a dream or something real, but that promise fills his heart with this incredible, almost overwhelming sense of anticipation. So the next day, Martin pretty much forgets all about his work. He just sits by his window, watching every single pair of shoes that goes by, his heart just racing, waiting, and watching for his divine guest. But the visitors he gets that day, they are not at all who he was expecting. The first person he spots is this old soldier, Stepanich, who can barely manage to shovel snow in the brutal cold. And without even a second thought, Martin calls him in from the street, sits him down by the fire, and gives him a hot cup of tea to warm up his tired bones. A little while later, he sees a woman huddled up against his window. She's trying to shield her crying baby from the wind, and they're dressed in practically nothing but rags. Martin's heart just goes out to them. He brings them inside, he feeds them, he gives the woman money for her pawned shawl, all while, still keeping one eye on the street for his real guest.
Later in the day, there's a commotion outside. An old woman who sells apples has caught a little boy trying to steal one. Now, instead of just watching from his window, Martin actually goes outside and becomes a peacemaker. He pays for the apple himself, he encourages the old woman to forgive the boy, and he even shares a story from the Gospels about forgiveness. She turns this moment of anger into a moment of grace.
So, as evening starts to fall, Martin is sitting by his lamp getting ready to read his book again. But there's this nagging thought that just won't go away. The day is almost over, and his divine guest never came. Night falls. The street is empty, and Martin feels this pang of sadness. He's thinking the promise was just a dream after all. He starts to wonder if maybe he missed his holy visitor somehow. So the question just hangs there in the air. Did the guest fail to show up? Or did Martin just fail to recognize him? And right then, in that moment of doubt, something absolutely miraculous happens. From the darkest corner of his little room, these hazy, dreamlike figures start to appear, almost like they're walking right out of the shadows.
First, the image of the old soldier Stepanich takes form in the darkness, and Martin hears that whisper again, "Martin, it was I."
Then the woman and her child appear, and the voice echoes once more, "And it was I." And finally, the old apple seller and the forgiven boy stand there together, and for a third time the voice whispers, "And it was I." And just as the figures vanish, Martin opens his book, and his eyes fall on the very passage he'd been reading that morning. And in that moment, it all clicks. Everything becomes crystal clear. God had visited him. He just didn't come as a king. He came as a cold, tired old man. He came as a hungry mother and child. He came in the form of a little thief, and the person who was able to forgive him. Every single act of compassion had been an act of worship.
And that leaves us with a final question we really have to ask ourselves, doesn't it? Are we, just like Martin was before his transformation, so focused on waiting for some huge divine sign that we end up missing the most important guests of all? The ones who are hidden in plain sight, in the faces of the ordinary people we meet every single day.